Well, it certainly wasn't the Liverpool that we know, or certainly that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years. One of the poorest performances that I think we've seen under a Jurgen Klopp team, really, and he came out and said that. But it's difficult to be too critical. It's the first game of the season, and this team have produced so much, and that quality's there, and I'm sure we'll see that in abundance this season.
What did you see as the reasons as to why it wasn't quite there for Liverpool on the day, particularly when we saw the intensity from Liverpool against Manchester City in the Community Shield?
Yeah, well, I think the way Fulham set up, they did to Liverpool what Liverpool normally do to other teams, almost looked more energetic, more ready for the game of football, really, and that's something that I'm sure Jurgen Klopp and the team will be looking at this week. It doesn't happen too often where Liverpool don't look ready for a game of football, but going to a newly promoted team, first game of the season, the excitement and the energy that will generate for their supporters is sometimes difficult to stop. But you'd expect a team of Liverpool's quality to do that, but it just wasn't to be. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. There's 37 games to go.
I was going to mention Bobby Firmino to you because I know obviously what a fan you are of Bobby Firmino, and he's coming for a little bit of criticism after that opening day of the season. Do you feel that's justified? Is there something that he needs to do different? What is it with Bobby at the moment?
Well, you say at the moment, it's one game. I mean, he's not been a regular in the team now for probably over 12 months since maybe Jota came in, Sadio Mane went through the middle towards the end of last season as well. So, I mean, you can't be too critical of Bobby Firmino, certainly for what he's done and the miles he's put in for this club. But, of course, Liverpool have bought Darwin Núñez for a reason, and I'm sure he'll be playing on Monday night. And Bobby, at this moment, I think will be more of a squad player between now and the end of the season. I'm sure he'll play a huge part.
Do Liverpool, though, need to do more in the transfer window before that deadline? Because, obviously, we've seen the injury to Thiago. That is obviously a major blow, and people have been talking about maybe needing that other midfield option anyway.
Well, I think most people would say Liverpool's midfield could be strengthened. I don't think that means in terms of numbers. They have enough numbers, but maybe in terms of quality or giving them something different that they don't have in midfield. Now, I would only want Liverpool or Jurgen Klopp to go and buy that midfielder if they get the player that they want. Liverpool's success in the transfer market, a lot has been down to not panicking. And that's what Liverpool can't do. What they haven't done in the past, what they can do right now, and what they shouldn't do in the future. So if the midfield player that they want is not available, don't get him. But if there's a midfield player out there that they feel has those qualities available, I would like them to do it, of course, but don't panic.
I mean, you're going to be talking like that before the game against Fulham anyway, hadn't he? There's always been that caveat, look, I'm not going to necessarily move in the transfer window, but if a deal presents itself, it will be a long-term target, not a short-term one. Yeah,
and that's the way Liverpool assess things in the transfer market. You think how long they waited for Virgil van Dijk. I mean, the deal fell through, I think, in the summer, and they waited till January. They didn't go and get another centre-back because they did need one. And they waited for the guy that they wanted, and it's proved very successful. And I'm sure that's what they'll do in midfield. And it's not having to go with the midfield players that they've got there. It's just the age profile of a lot of the midfield. Getting into the 30s. Certainly Liverpool's first choice midfield and the one that played at Fulham is getting to the 30 mark. So you think a younger, more energetic player maybe coming in at some stage, but they've got those players in reserve at the moment. But unfortunately they're all injured.
Was there anything else that surprised you from that opening weekend? I mean, some will look at the Manchester United result and say that was a surprise. Did it come as a surprise to you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, no matter how poorly Manchester United are at this moment, you still expect them to be Brighton at home. And they should be Brighton at home, but I think it just shows when a manager's been in the job for 2 or 3 years and he's had that real time to sort of implement what he's about in his team. And you could see that with Graham Potter, even though they'd lost big players in the summer. The rest of those players and the way the team was set up, they know exactly what to do. And Manchester United are just not at that stage right now with a new manager. Does that, I mean, in many ways, does it sum up the kind of job that Erik ten Hag has to do there as well? I mean, people were talking about Manchester United as potentially improving on last season and challenging those Champions League spots. Do you think that is going to happen this season? I know it's one game, but it kind of emphasises the job that Ten Hag has to do. I think Man United will improve on last season. I don't see how it gets any worse in terms of the points that they got, the goals they conceded. I know it wasn't a great start, I get that. The window's not closed, there's still a couple of weeks to try and get some players in. There's a criticism now at the moment for some of the players they're trying to bring in. But, I've been in that position myself at Liverpool where you're trying to chase the top teams and at times you do find yourself in a situation where you think, should we take a chance on a player? Whereas maybe a Liverpool and a Man City right now don't need to take those chances, and that's the benefit of being successful
I suppose. But you can't really judge the squad until, as I said, the window's closed and we see where they go from there. But you know, Ten Hag's got a great pedigree in what he did with Ajax and how good they were in the Champions League, built 2 teams there. So, you know, you have to have faith in the manager.
Just finally, Jamie, if there's anyone else who's going to get into the mix with City and Liverpool, is the most likely looking Spurs at the moment?
Yeah, and a lot of people may be being a little bit down on Chelsea a little bit. But I still think there's 2 or 3 players to come into Stamford Bridge before the window closes, so I think they could look a completely different proposition at the end of August as well. But Spurs with Conte, the results they got against Liverpool and Manchester City last season, we know he's a coach who quite rightly can go up against Klopp and Guardiola and not feel in any way inferior because of the success he's had here and abroad as well. So yeah, I think you know, they certainly look a lot better than they did last season, and I think they'll join Chelsea in the 2 teams trying to close on the top 2.